Hello, my name is Kate, and this is Castle Tutelage, your home defense network. As many of you know, I am in the Minneapolis area, and we had a shooting, a police shooting of Jamel Clark early last year, or late last year, okay? And the Hennepin County prosecutor came out and said that they're not going to be charging the officers for the shooting. And when I was watching this and listening to the guy, it really resonated with me exactly how cops can do their job. And then with that, how we can also defend ourselves. And what I really want to discuss is the reasonable person standard that the Hennepin County attorney laid out in this case on why the cops were both subjectively and objectively reasonable for the shooting. Now, the first one I want to lay out, is police officers are in a different kind of light. They're going to have a little bit more of information than the Joe public guy. Okay, when the police were called to the woman's house, I can't remember her name. It's really irrelevant. What originally happened was that she said that, or pointed out that Jamal Clark is the one who physically assaulted her, and now she needed, medical assistance and transportation. Jamar Clark was also harassing and being aggressive towards the paramedics, and that's when they called in. And I may be wrong in the verbiage with this, but what the police officers came with is that there was a domestic assault that happened, and that the combative was giving the paramedics a hard time, and they were fear for their lives, and the paramedics locked themselves in the backside of the paramedic ambulance. Okay, so that is knowledge. When you're dealing with the reasonable person standard, your knowledge and your training is all is part of your subjective reasonableness standard. Okay, when you have two officers, they already know that there's going to be a male that is going to be a little bit more of a combative state. Okay, so when they got there, they try to handcuff him. This is the story. I'm not disputing the facts. If you want to dispute these facts, go away. There's no evidence on the other side with it. This is the official story. Um, the police officer tried to go to handcuff. Jamar struggled, and both the officer and Jamar fell on the ground, where Jamar fell on the front of the officer, and the officer was back was towards the ground. The officer also felt that Jamar had a hold of his gun and was tugging it and trying to get the gun, and that's when his partner shot Jamar. Okay, now, when we're doing with the subjective reasonable, everybody is good with subjectively reasonable. And you're going to get some of these ninnies on here. If I feel that my life was in danger, great bodily harm, blah, blah, blah. All I need to do is to have that feeling. No, you have to have objective reasonable also. It's not just between your ears. It's not in your gray matter just because you feel like you're in danger. Now, why am I really talking about this? Because people don't understand this part of reasonable person standard, subjectively and objectively reasonable. The objectively reasonable, why these police officers um, uh, was ruled a good shooting is because of physical evidence. Physical evidence is going to point toward you being objectively reasonable. Now, what were they? Well, they found DNA, Jamar's DNA on the gun. They also found his DNA on the belt. The video evidence, when the officer got back up to the ground, he had to reposition his gun belt. These are all pointing to being objectively reasonable. So you have the subjectively reasonable, where Jamar was trying to get the officer's gun, while the officer was on the ground, pinned to the ground, and could not escape. And you also have the physical evidence of the DNA on the gun, on the tool belt, and also the video evidence of the officer readjusting his belt. Okay, those are the facts in the case. You being objectively reasonable. What you know at the time, that the male was being combative and basically had the paramedics locked in their own ambulance. Okay, what you know, which is part of being subjectively reasonable. The physical evidence is what they're going to be for objectively reasonable. To me, fascinating. I enjoyed that that press conference. I learned a lot because everything that I've really read, objectively reasonable, was never really explained to me until objectively reasonable was linked to physical evidence. Okay, my name is Caden. This is Castle Toolage, your home defense network. I hope this helped.